America's second biggest bank, actually Bank of America, sends out a warning to their clients. Not just to worry about their funds. There's another bank that sent that warning out. But they're worried about data breaches. What they've seen is an uptick on the fact that they could have lost social security numbers. They could have lost personal identification numbers. Things that affect you. This is not just about money anymore. This is about your whole life. How serious is this? And how serious is a life that we tie so much into digitized forms of convenience? I think of all the apps that you have and I have on my phone. How many of those have your information? There's another bank that we were just discussing that's worried about things getting sent out via text message, via email. And people are just clicking on them. And what it is, it's your information's gone. We're also going to talk about what I personally am dealing with another provider that keeps sending me emails about how much money I owe, how much fraud I've had. I get toll-free calls as well. But we have to find protection. So what should we be doing in making sure that we're prepared? We're going to talk about that today. And you need to make sure that you are doing these things because you've worked hard for what you have. The last thing you want to do, lose it all to some kind of scam or data breach. Let's dive into this story today. This video starts right now. Hey guys, welcome to our channel. Thank you so very much for being here. Today we humbly ask that if you like the content, give us a thumbs up and tell us what you think about it in the comments. That helps tell YouTube to recommend this. A lot of times we're not getting recommended as much. I think it's because we share truth about things that some people don't really want to hear, but it's truth. So please make sure that you are sharing and you are commenting and you're giving us a thumbs up. That helps tell YouTube, please, to share this message. And really this message is important because it affects every one of us. We all live in a digitized world. Think about all the apps you have on your phone. Think about all your banking. I have literally a tab on my phone that's called banking. And it has several different accounts or several different apps that utilize for budgeting and necessity, things like that. Think about how much software and how many medical institutions, how many banks, how many places of business has your information. I always get on to my wife because my wife is one of those people that if there's a email newsletter that's going to save her some money or she's going to get some coupons, she's like, sign me up, and she sends it in. But I tell her she's got to be careful there because sometimes those emails go to fraud and those emails go to scammers. And so that's why we're making this video. I want to make sure that we understand where we're at. Now, before we even get into this video about some of the substance with Bank of America, I want to tell you two stories right quick that happened to me just this last week. Now, I don't have a PayPal account anymore. If you want to go back and watch the video about how PayPal ripped me off a few years back, it's in my Money and Finance playlist. But basically, I got an email, and I get this email just about once every month saying that I have a balance that I need to claim on PayPal. Well, it looks legit. It's got the little PayPal logo, and they probably just capture it off and fraudulent take it. Now, if I click on that, then I imagine my email and my opening, knowing I don't have a balance there. If I click on that, I'm scared that I'm exposing my data in my phone to hackers. Well, not only that, I got a call yesterday, and this has nothing to do with this video, but it is exactly what we're talking about. From a bank. Now, I don't have this bank account, and they said, this is Fraud Center, just making sure you understand that there has been a call on your account and there's a pending charge that you need to confirm or deny. So you go through and you have to call or visit online service about this fraudulent charge that's been deemed in your name. Well, again, I don't have that account. I don't have that bank. So that's not something that I even click on. I just hung up and went on about my day. The thing is this though, that's how dangerous and that's how vulnerable we are, especially when it comes to the older among us, or especially when it comes to our children. Or maybe you have a spouse who's not as involved in the day-to-day operations of your home. Like my wife, now she knows where our banks are, but if she got a call or she got an email from PayPal or from some online site, she may think, well, this is legit, let me just check into it. And all the while she may be exposing her phone or our information to the World Wide Web and hackers and data breaches. Well, that's kind of what we're talking about. Let's first talk about Bank of America, and then we're going to jump into a few more banks and a few more instances that you have to be careful for and what you should be doing. Second biggest bank in U.S. hit with a major data breach, stealing social security numbers and other personal info. This is from the Daily Mail. This story was shared just about a week ago. It says one of America's biggest banks has suffered a security blunder, exposing the social security numbers and other private information of the unknown number of customers. They said it could be a whopping amount of customers. Bank of America has informed its clients that their names, account details, addresses, contact information, date of birth, social security numbers, and government IDs were all exposed and left outside the unsealed container dealing with information that data brokers now have. Bank of America said a third-party data destruction vendor was to blame for the breach. So here's the thing, I can protect my money in my wallet, I can protect my money in a safe, I can lock my doors physically at night, but digitally, I mean, that's a big deal. So now, not only was your social security, your personal account, your date of birth, your address, think about how much they could get and how much they could do with that much information. I could go online and buy anything and everything as long as I have all that information of yours. That's how dangerous we are. I mean, access to our accounts, the routing numbers. What are we doing? This is dangerous. Now, how can we prepare ourselves to make sure that we are ready for these kind of things? According to the bank officials, this company was hired to pick up documents from an unnamed financial center in December of 24 and take them to a shredding place of purposes. Now, I know a shredder in my local town, and he said it's amazing how I just am able to pick up whatever I want. Now, I'm a trustworthy person. They have my information. They have an NDA on me, but ultimately, I could just pick up their documents that they're wanting to shred, and I don't shred them in-house anymore because it's too much. So we have to take them to an undisclosed location. So can we trust banks and law offices and legal offices and medical offices that they're just giving our information to shredders and that information is actually going to where it's supposed to go? Have these things been vetted really well? Well, that's why we have to make sure that we're protecting ourselves. Now, let's go through a list of 5 things that I would personally be doing. Number 1 is we have to make sure that we can trust our banks. And what I mean by that is we always do banking local. Now, this is not just banking. This is dealing with law offices. This is dealing with accounting offices. This is dealing with any and every person that has my personal information. The brokerage, a broker, like if I'm going to invest money, I want to make sure that it is done with a local person that I know, that I see every day. He's eating lunch at restaurants close to me. His family is doing ball with my children, those kind of things. I want to have that relationship with them. So first of all, I would try to do things locally so that way you may not be as involved in things that happen in New York or happen in Washington or happening in San Francisco when it comes to banking online or bigger bank. Second, well, to be honest with you, the sponsor of today's ad is what I would do. Or I would make sure that I would protect myself by having a way to, just in case my information gets vulnerable or it gets stolen or a breach happens, even if I'm not in control of it, that they can protect me. Here's a word from them today. Have you ever Googled yourself and literally your family members and information of yours came up? The question always comes to mind is how much of my public information is actually on the World Wide Web, on the internet where people could just access it. Not only that, think about all the spam calls you get, all the spam emails you get. I get several a day and have to block and block and block. That's where my friends at Aura, the sponsor of today's video, can help. Aura will help remove your personal information from data brokers and people searching sites to sell your information from and to identity thieves and scammers and more. Aura monitors your personal data, including your social security number, your house number, your phone number. And not only do they check it and monitor it, they will alert you if all of a sudden they find that your information has been compromised. Also, Aura VPN. VPN protects you on the internet, and this was with military-grade protection when it comes to Aura's VPN. It blocks all scam and phishing sites from getting your information in your accounts. What about an antivirus? What about a password manager? 24/7 US-based support. I get all this in one app called Aura. I do not want to leave myself vulnerable. We talk about it all the time. We live in a digitized world. The last thing I want to do is protect my home and not protect myself online. Check out aura.com/themax today. You will not be sorry that you did. My information is mine. My social is my social. My address is mine. The last thing I want is someone else to have it. You can go to my link below, aura.com/themax, and get 2 weeks free. That will be enough for you to see how Aura is an asset to you, because you're going to realize how much you're exposed online. Stop leaving yourself vulnerable. Check out Aura today. Link is in the description. Thank you so much, Aura, for sponsoring today's video. So number 2 would be that. I would make sure that I had a security step in place. That way, if something were to get into my phone, something were to get in my internet service, someone were to get my information, I could get restoration and I can get protection, and I can make sure that the scam emails I'm coming across, the fraud, they can start blocking some of those things. So that's why we have Aura, and make sure that we're protected. So we talked about doing things local, trusting those people, and then making sure that we have protections from data breaches that we're already seeing, someone like Aura. Now, Bank of America used this third party. So sometimes we don't know that. So when we take these warnings, we heed these warnings, we also got to make sure that these warnings are not nefarious. And so they make you call someone. For instance, number 3 is this: understanding true emails and phone calls. Now, my wife was hacked with Facebook years ago. It's been about 2 years now. But what she did was she opened an email that was fraudulent. She didn't know, and it says, hey, you've been compromised. You need to click on this email to then change your password and make sure that you are safe. Identify yourself. Well, it's fraud. So when you get conspicuous emails or when you get conspicuous phone calls, instead of listening to the 1-800 number that just called you, or instead of just clicking on the email from this, a do not reply email, it'd be wise to call your bank, call your CPA, call your accountant, call whomever that is affecting you, or go on the main app or website to see if there's any more information. I told my wife, for instance, instead of clicking on that email, she should have exited out, went to open Facebook and see if there was some kind of alert on the actual website or on her actual app. So number 3 is making sure we understand fraud emails, fraud phone calls come through. Now, if you have Aura, that's going to help you get rid of some of that. But there's still some emails that may flow through. There's still some calls that may flow through. We need to understand what real and what is not. So go to the actual source, the original source of the bank, of the CPA firm, of the law firm, of whatever it may be. Especially a big one lately has been Social Security. Calling you and telling you that you've been compromised, your Social Security has been compromised. Well, remember, Social Security doesn't call you. They mail you. And if you need to visit with them, you have to call them, or you have to mail them, or you have to go into a physical office. So just by knowing how those things get to you and making sure that you're not vulnerable with those conversations coming through via email, through a do not reply email, or through a phone call, and you just clicking on things that you shouldn't be clicking on. Before we go any further, it says, this is another report. It says, Terrified and Scam gets customers of one of America's biggest banks that could drain life savings. This happened with TD Bank, and it was not them, but it was someone using their name across the U.S., sending emails, making calls, and it was jeopardizing people's safety. And to be honest with you, people were losing tons of their money because they were giving access to them. And here's the thing I want you to listen to, and this is number 4. It says the link appeared legitimate. It actually said validtdmobile.com's app, which looked like users, it's TD Banks. It kind of favored the look. Remember, hackers are not going to do this third rate. They're going to make sure it looks really legit. But listen to what they wanted. They prompted them for credentials. And here's the biggest thing, like I told you about my wife. Number 4, make sure that you're not just putting your information into these sites when you truly don't know the source. If someone is asking you for that credentials, most of the time, remember, if you've got a second form of authenticity, or you have a way that you have a 2-factor passkey, this is key. So you cannot just put your information into a source or an app lackadaisical. So here's what I do. I build a password holder on my phone, and it has a passkey. So any app that's asking me for information, they not only have my email and password, if I've set it up, I also put my cell phone number in there, which is legitimately to me, but then it has a passkey. Most of the time it's called 2-factor authenticity. So they're going to get your phone, they're going to get your passkey, they're going to get something else of yours that will go directly to you. So you need to make sure that you're not just clicking on something that says, well, here's a fraud alert. If you've not gotten a fraud alert in 2 different forms, like for instance, if my bank has a problem, not only do they send me an email, they send me a text message. Now that doesn't mean it's legit. That means I'm still going to go through the steps of making sure it's safe. But because I have Aura, it blocks out some of the trash. But then anything that comes through, I can say, okay, this is legitimate. Before I click on these things, I'm going to call the bank. Or before I click on these things, I'm going to go check one of the other sources to see if something else comes through. I'm going to go check their website, like I said before. The last thing I want to do is put my credentials in. When you click those links, they're looking for you to give them access Well, access means you're going to change a password, you're going to give them information of you where the data breachers has breached you, and now you are compromised. And number 5, I want to just say this. We tend to, like me, because I'm always thinking through these kind of things, and I always believe that I can never trust anybody, and that's probably because I'm a prepper and homesteader, but because I feel that way, I'm very, very conscientious of clicking. I'm very conscientious of giving my information out. I'm very conscientious of giving my physical location. That's why we have a post office box. I'm conscientious of those things. Well, the vulnerable among us, my children, if they have to put my information in or tell them who I am, same way. The older individuals, the senior citizens of our time, they may not be as savvy on some of these scams that are coming their way. So number 5 would be, look, protect your family too. Protect your parents and your children. When I was getting reports on basically when you put your information in and you start getting scanned and you make sure that your data is safe. For instance, with Aura, go back to that for a second. The main thing is it protects my family. I have a family plan built in. And not only do we get the fraud alerts, if one of my kids or even elder individuals that could be on that plan too, I would get the fraud alert, know that something may be wrong. Not only that, there's a restoration there. And so I want to make sure that if you're not buying something like a protection like that you have to then aggressively protect your family. So for me, it's like, okay, I can do all I can, but again, I have a life, I have to work. So there's sometimes that I can't watch what my wife is what emails come into her, that's fraud. I can't see what is happening to some of my older individuals at my work. So I put these virus protections, I put these things in so that way it helps me be proactive. But if you're not, then you've got to teach them what they need. Like for instance, there's an older individual at work. And so what I've done is I've helped them say, okay, if you get these kind of emails, this is probably fraud. So if you're using our computers, we do have virus scans on there. But if you're using your cell phone and you're using just a regular open internet source, there could be risk to you. So make sure that you are putting those extra protection in. So I've talked to him about things like Aura. I've talked to him about making sure he's not with these big monster banks. Maybe get more local so you can call a regular local number and talk to these people. Don't do your taxes. For instance, he was doing his taxes through some third-rate tax firm, and it's like, no one, how do you know that could be trustworthy or not? You just gave them all your information. So sometimes it's not the fact of not being wise, it's the fact that of the unknown. There are bad players. And if our children or younger individuals or older individuals, so I think of like my kids, they don't have social media, but a lot of your kids have social media and internet phones, which I don't believe in, but I digress. If they do, or if the older among us, the senior citizens, your moms, your dads, your grandparents, if they have these kind of phones, they're going to get hacked or their data will be compromised. And it's not because they're doing something wrong, it's because there's just so much fraud out there. So we want to make sure that we're protecting them. Local, making sure you're staying local, making sure that you have some kind of protection like Aura. Number 3, make sure you understand the risk of this and don't just put your information in. Have a backup, a 2-factor option. Make sure you don't just click on anything, and make sure your apps are known sources and they're not selling information of yours. And of course, number 5, protect the people that are special to you. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this video helps. Like I said, we've dealt with this with PayPal before. We've dealt with this with a crypto site years ago. I don't do crypto anymore, but for instance, there was a time that they wouldn't release the information, and I was compromised. It was a data breach, and they were like, well, look, 45 other people have the same information. And it was just like a few $100. But what I'm saying is, I've learned to say, you know what? I'm going to be proactive and protect my family by having Aura. I'm going to be proactive and having a local bank. I'm going to make sure that I bank only local, and I make sure that I use reputable apps and not just some third-rate app. I want to make sure that it has a lot of 5-star ratings so that way I know other people are using it. Also, I'm not just going to click on just anything and put my credentials in. And I want to protect the people that I love the most. So therefore, I want family plans. I want to make sure that I can be proactive and teach them knowledge and wisdom to watch out for scammers and data breachers. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts on today's video. I want you to protect yourself. It's not about just banking. It's about every aspect of your life. Because our lives are so involved digitally, you have to have protection. Make sure you're doing all you can to protect yourself. God bless.